Booker DeWitt stood at the font's edge. Salt water clung to his hair. Comstock's hand hovered over the infant. A storm raged in the lighthouse behind him. The bathysphere sank. Its lights vanished into the abyss. Each baptism forged a chain blood and water, choice and consequence. A girl waited at every rift, a mirror cracked by fate's math. To lighthouse behind him break the cycle. A girl waited at every rift. Before the sea acclaims him, mirror cracked by fate's math. Why does each Bioshock father stand at the knife's edge of the same atrocity? A curse binds them. The daughter is both victim and viper. She is the promise and the poison. To break the chain, a man must slaughter what his own hands have shaped. But every blade turns in the wound. Every father becomes the tyrant he swore to kill. The cycle is not a plot device. It is the marrow of the story. Each daughter carries the spark of her maker's ruin. Complicity in her gaze, the fathers do not choose. They reenact a ritual of self-destruction. The sea claims them all. How many times must a father drown his daughter before the cycle carves its name into eternity? Columbia's spires pierced the heavens in 1893. Comstock's Sky City thrived on a secret. The Ludes field bent reality itself. Through it, Columbia pilfered Rapture's plasmids, siphoning genius across dimensions. A decade later, Andrew Ryan carved his underwater utopia in 1946, blind to the theft that birthed his own empire. Both men built kingdoms on stolen dreams, on daughters repurposed as pawns. The Ludes field did more than steal science, it stole futures. Elizabeth's prison was a universe folded into another, her existence a wound between worlds. Anna, her twin, drowned in Comstock's delusion Sanauthor iteration of the same violated girl. The cycle gnaws inward, fathers who cannot see their daughters as anything but obstacles to their grand designs. Rapture's objectivists drowned in their own hubris. Columbia's zealots burned in there. The Ludes field's thefts ensured neither city could escape the echo of their crimes. Every plasmid, every lightning-fueled scream, every tear in reality paid in daughters. How many timelines must fracture before the debt is tallied? The cycle does not end, it deepens. Each daughter is both victim and architect, her blood a key turning locks across realities. The sea and sky recoil, the fathers never learn. The antiseptic sting of Rapture's labs clings to Eleanor's skin as Sophia's voice drones, a scalpel wrapped in honey. Asterisk, you will be perfected, asterisk, she whispers, injecting the same extract that drains little sisters. The syringe's cold press against Eleanor's neck, a scream swallowed by static. Flickering tube lights bathe her in sickly blue, a color that now stains her veins. Sophia's hands tremble not from fear, but the thrill of her own godhood. Eleanor's last memory of her mother's face is a mask of tears and triumph. Years later, the ocean's pressure molds Eleanor into a monster. Her lungs in brine, her fists crackle with stolen life. When she drags a writhing little sister from the dark, her own reflection stares back wide-eyed, human and gone. The splicers howl, but Eleanor hears another sound, the wet click of Sophia's safety being disengaged. Asterisk, how does a mother become both executioner and execution? Asterisk, the cycle does not end, it loops. In every drowned city, the daughter's choice festers. Destroy what you once loved, or let it destroy you. The labs still hum, the extract still burns. And Sophia's ghost, forever trapped in her own making, whispers the answer no child should ever hear. Asterisk, this is your purpose. Asterisk, word count 270. The clock tower's chime hangs sharp in the frostbitten air. Elizabeth's breath curls white as she steps into Comstock's study, the scent of old blood and beeswax underlining every syllable of his final lie. Her fingers brush the Ludes device-cold iron, humming with the static of 1,000 stolen lives. She knows what comes next. Knew when the brine of drowned citywaiter filled her lungs, when the weight of Jack's body dragged her beneath the waves. Asterisk, this is your purpose. Asterisk, the phrase seeps into the wood grain, into the very air of Columbia. Her boot clicks on the parquet. Comstock's portrait watches, eyes too wide, too hungry. She pictures the other version of herself, wit broken, cradling Jack's corpse in the drowned lighthouse. That choice, this choice. Both carve the same scar, the device flares. Pain blooms behind her ribs, a second heart tearing free. She does not flinch. Somewhere a little girl screams. The city's lights flicker as if retching. Elizabeth's hands tremble not from fear, but the terrible arithmetic of what she holds. A life for a life, a bullet for a bullet, a girl forever balanced against the scales of a man's hubris. The device pulses, she closes her eyes, the sky opens, the clock tower grinds to a halt, a new age begins and ends. The lab hums with the sour tang of ozone. Vats glow blue, their fluid sloshing as Tenenbaum tears through security codes. Her hands tremble not from fear, but the electric static of her own betrayal. Shed designed this place to harvest innocence. Now she rips a terminal from its wall, sparks searing her palms. The little sister inside screams, a sound like shattering glass and lullabies. Above, the city's spires bleed dawn. A harvester descends, its metal jaw snapping shut. The daughter, it's always the daughter, clutches a tattered doll, her eyes two hollows reflecting every father's shadow. The protagonist freezes. The doll's fabric reeks of salt and blood. Asterisk, how many have died holding this? Asterisk, he grips the harvester's cold frame. It pulses, a heartbeat synced to the drowned city's rot. Tenenbaum's rebellion became a whisper in a storm. Shed blown apart her own creation, only to watch the machine swallow the explosion whole. Now, the cycle grinds on. The daughter's humming rice a dirge, a dare. The protagonist's finger hovers, pull, and the song stops, let go, and it echoes. The doll slips from the girl's hand. It sinks into black water, dragging a century of choices downward. The harvester whirs, the city breathes, the choice is never new, it's never enough. The lighthouse never burns out, the man never stops climbing. The city never stops drowning. Asterisk, would you kindly? Asterisk, the words echo, a riddle without an answer, as daughters are born to reignite the flame. Each age a new harvester. Each choice a shadow of the last. The cycle does not tire, it only waits. The city's veins hum with a metallic tang, sour and thick, as if the sea itself breathes through rusted pipes. Booker DeWitt's hands calloused from salt and shame clench the hem of Elizabeth's dress. She does not cry, her eyes, wide as shattered glass, reflect the flicker of Rapture's failing lights. Comstock's voice, honey-thick and iron-cold, promises a debt erased. A coin clinks, no, 1,000 coins. A ledger's ink bleeds into a child's blood. The transaction is not a trade, it is a prayer. The little sisters drift like will-o'-the-wisps in the dark, their lungs inflated with stolen atom. The restoration program billed as Mercians in hollowed-out husks, their skin paling to the gray of drowned things. A single tear, warm and brief, slips from a girl who once laughed. The cycle does not ask if you are ready. It is the tide returning to a shore it never forgets. Booker's guilt is not a secret. It is a monument hewn from every choice that could not be unmade. He sees her later, in the hollow of a cathedral made of corpses. Her song now is a dirge. The atom lamps cast her silhouette into 1,000 jagged shadows. She does not beg him, she does not thank him. She only waits as the city waits, as the dead wait in their coffins of coral and bone. How many times must a wound reopen before it becomes a second skin? The cycle is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Each daughter is a cipher, each debt a ritual. The tides do not ask for forgiveness, they do not forget. And when the next Booker walks, his boots will echo with the same salt, the same silence. Why does the knife always return, not for vengeance, not for justice, but for continuity? Each daughter is a covenant, a binding of the father's sin to the son's hand, Rapture's little sister. Columbia's shining girl, their blood is not a price, it is a predicate. A failed utopia cannot sustain itself without sacrifice. It cannot propagate without repetition. The daughter is both altar and offering. Her existence is the wound, her death is the stitch. Andrew Ryan did not create a paradise, he engineered a parasite, a system that demands perpetual martyrdom to feed its delusions. The girl is its heartbeat, to kill her is to perpetuate the lie, to spare her is to unravel the grid, but choice here is a farce, the daughter is never free. She is the fulcrum of a lever too vast for any one soul to lift. Elizabeth's tears did not shatter the sky, they merely painted the cracks in a newer coat of whitewash. Her complicity is not a flaw, it is the design. Every Bioshock father knows this truth. The daughter's fate is the system's foundation. To end the cycle would be to admit the system was never whole, never anything but a chain of borrowed time. And so the knife returns, not because men are cruel. Because systems are eternal, the salt still clings to the blade, the silence is not peace, it is the breath between heartbeats. And when the next father kneels, he will not see the girl, he will see the future. And he will choose. Each time the hammer falls, the echo carves deeper. Rapture, Columbia, the daughters are not victims, they are the hinges. The fathers see the cities collapse in their child's eyes, they strike. They become the engine of their own undoing. How many must drown to prove the lighthouse was a lie? The systems do not crumble, they replicate. Love is a lever, sacrifice the weight. Every new world needs a lamb, every utopia demands a throat. The daughter's death is not rebellion, it is ritual, a transaction to feed the machine. The protagonist reaches, the protagonist hesitates. The protagonist chooses, but the choice was written in the salt of the water, in the scaffolding of the sky. To break the cycle, you must become the break. You must shatter the mirror that reflects your face back as a tyrant. What does that demand of you? To see the daughter not as a person, but as a prism. To burn the city and the dream alike. To accept that breaking the chain means the chain was never yours to carry. The cycle does not end, it adapts. A new daughter blooms from the ashes. A new father kneels. The future is not a promise. It is a wound, and we are the surgeons who refuse to stop bleeding. Why do we keep reaching? Because the alternative is to let the world carve its gods from our silence. Each age forges its chains from the bones of its daughters. Daisy, Elizabeth, names etched not in memory, but in mechanism puppets of dreams that devour their makers. Why does the knife always turn inward? Why must the hand that cradles also crush? Because utopia is a mirror, and every reflection fractures into the same grim choice: sever the child or let the world burn. The architects of Rapture and Columbia did not differ. They merely swapped salt water for sky, idolatry for anarchism. Both built temples where love was a currency, where sacrifice was a transaction. The daughter is the ledger's ink, her existence a cipher for every sin the parent refuses to name. To kill her is to confess, to spare her is to condemn. The cycle does not learn, it repeats. What haunts the saga is not the act, but the belief that it might be the last. Andrew Ryan's God, Atlas Vengeance, even the quiet desperation of a child who knows her heart, is a weapon on escape the arithmetic of their own making. The tragedy is not that they choose. It is that they think they do. Each age wakes, blind to the script carved in the ribs of the one before. The requiem hums in the machinery. A daughter's scream echoes through drowned cities and fallen spires, a hymn to the folly of breaking what you cannot understand. The knife waits, the choice waits. And the world turns, ever hungry for new hands to hold the old blade. The bathysphere's dome glows faintly, its portholes reflecting the bioluminescent drift of the abyss. Cold seeps through the hull, metallic and patient. A single light flickers Rapture's shattered spire, a tooth in the dark. Comstock's voice, wet and frayed, echoes in the chamber. Asterisk, the girl must die. Asterisk, salt stings the air, or perhaps it is the blood of 1,000 bookers, their choices etched into the steel. The baptism scene replaces oil slick water, a child's breath held too long, the detonators click. Comstock's hands, trembling with holy fever, guide the knife, but the bomb's bloom is not an end. It is a loop, the daughter's scream becomes the mother's, the martyr's blood becomes the bomb's fuse. The machine does not end, it asterisk learns asterisk, each cycle sharpens its hunger. The bathysphere ascends, its hum a dirge, a final log crackles, asterisk there's no escaping the machine, asterisk the words hang, swallowed by the sea's endless throat, above the surface shimmers a lie of light. Below the dark remembers every name, the knife waits, the choice waits, and the world turns, ever hungry for new hands to hold the old blade. The same choice haunts each soul who dares rapture. The little sisters, vessels of stolen atom, born to fuel a failed experiment's endless hunger. Their restoration cycle lies sold as salvation became the city's moral rot. A father's guilt, a daughter's fate, a blade passed through generations. How many must drown in the same tide? The cycle does not end, it only deepens. Each protagonist, drawn into the same spiral, forced to ask, is breaking the chain a mercy or a repetition? The sisters' whispers echo through the dark, a hymn to the violence that built this world.